कृष्ण श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवताम की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायण नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। श्रीमतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनं हृदयन्तस्व भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायशो भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी सर्वशास्त्राब्दी पीयूष सर्ववैदिक सत्फल सर्वसिद्धांत रत्नाद्य सर्वलोकैकदृक्प्रद सर्वभागवत प्राण श्रीमद्भागवतो प्रभु कलिद्वंतोतिदादित्य श्रीकृष्ण परिवर्तिता परमानंद पाथाय प्रेम वर्ष अक्षराय ते सर्वद सर्वसेवाय श्रीकृष्णाय नमोस्तुते मद एक बंधु मद संगीत मद गुरुन् मन महादना मन निस्तारक मन भाग्य मद आनंद नमोस्तुते असाधुता साधुता जाइन अति नीचोतता कराहा ना मुंचा कदाचिन मां प्रेम न हृत कंथयो स्पुरः। श्रीमद्भागवताम की जय। We pray to Srimad Bhagavatam that accompanied by pure love, premna rit kantayospura, accompanied by pure love of Krishna, please manifest yourself in our hearts and also in our throats. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. So we are continuing this beautiful pastime from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Jai and Vijay and the four Kumaras. We're going to discuss now chapter number 16. So let's get started with text number 1, and then I will come back to the uh, overview of the previous chapter. But let's start off with text number 1. So 3:16:1.
Brahmovacha yetitad grihnatam tejam muninam yogadharminam pratinandya jagadedam vikuntayo yuhu.
Hare Krishna. Lord Brahma said, after thus congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose abode is in the kingdom of God, spoke as follows. Hare Krishna.
So tad grahanatam. So the speech was praising. So right. So in the previous chapter, we read how the four Kumaras, when they actually came, and when Jay and Vijay actually stopped them, then actually when they came, then they saw Jay and Vijay, and Jay and Vijay appeared with arched eyebrows, because they were thinking like, oh, these four people, they are entering into Vaikuntha, right? And then how the four Kumars, they got angry on Jay and Vijay. And then after that, when they both of them, and then Jay and Vijay actually said like, oh, and then they cursed Jay and Vijay that, because you're making that, you're seeing a duality, you're seeing actually like, you're fearful in this place, which is actually Vaikuntha. You are actually serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are in the highest position of service, and in spite of that, you are actually exhibiting a behavior which is not in favor of that of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So hence you do not deserve to stay here, and hence they curse them to actually go down to the material universe. Right? And as soon as Jay and Vijay heard this curse from four Kumaras, they realized the gravity of this curse. And what did they do? Did they counter curse? Did they actually say, no, no, we are right. We are here as doorkeepers. This is our job. This is our seva. Oh, the connection is still bad.
Yes.
It's okay from my side?
Yes, Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, I was thinking that they apologized, but I was thinking that what is the use of doorkeepers in Vaikuntha if only pure devotees can go to Vaikuntha? It is just for welcoming the guest, right?
There is also in the 16th chapter, we'll read about one particular incident which comes towards the end of this chapter, while when Jay and Vijay, when Lord Narayan was actually taking rest in Vaikuntha, then Jay and Vijay actually stopped even Lakshmi ji from entering. So the
Oh,
task
that's
is
a
not only to welcome, is certainly to welcome, but also that depending on the mood or the rasa that the Lord is actually experiencing in his abode, the Jay and Vijay actually want to make sure that, let's say, like Narayan and Lakshmi is having association. Then certainly Jay and Vijay do not want maybe someone else who may not be in that rasa to actually enter at that time. So they may arrange that in such a way that, okay, not right now, it is a time between Lakshmi and Narayan. So it is mainly to enhance the mood of rasa, that they are actually right there. Right? So is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
So yeah, so they immediately, when they realized the gravity of the curse, they actually fell at the feet of the four Kumaras and actually said, what was their request? That even though we go down in the material world, but please give us this one benediction that we will actually always have smriti. We always remember the Supreme Personality of God, right? And then even the four Kumaras released that actually these two are exalted devotees. They are not any kind of imposters. See, even though they are cursed, what is their mentality? They are falling at our feet and asking for asking for forgiveness. At the same time, their only desire is that they do not forget the Lord. And who will have such a desire? Only exalted devotees, right? So when both sides had that mood of utter humility, the mood of repentance, and we made this point that how that mood of humility, the mood of repentance attracts Krishna, right? Attracts Krishna. So when both of them had that mood, Krishna actually he left his inner chambers and came running at that spot, right? He came on his 2 feet, the same 2 feet that he wanted to give benedictions to the four Kumaras. He wanted to reveal the glories of those two lotus feet to the four Kumaras. So he came running on those 2 feet. And then we read about how as when the Lord came, Jai and Vijay, they had darshan of the Lord. And darshan was so amazing that they were not satisfied. They were looking at every limb of the Lord and they were experiencing so much bliss that they wanted to again and again look at the same limb and say, oh, so nice. And so they were focusing. So we read that verse, right? Where they were focusing on, let's say, the waist of the Lord. And then they were deriving so much ecstasy from that. And then they were focusing on the chest of the Lord and so much ecstasy. Then they were actually focusing on the lotus feet of the Lord and so much ecstasy. And they could not hold on to that ecstasy. It was so much bliss that they were actually experiencing. Right? And then we read that very famous shloka, Tasyaravinda Nayanas Padaravinda, that when the tulsi leaves that was offered to the lotus feet of Krishna, the fragrance from the tulsi leaf that was offered from the lotus feet of Krishna, that fragrance, when it actually entered into the nostrils of these four Kumaras, those four Kumaras who were up to this point, Brahman realized, now they actually realize the personal form of the Lord, that sweetness that they had never experienced before. And they experienced, their body was experiencing such kind of ecstasy that they had never experienced before. You know? And imagine even in our journey, we are practicing bhakti. And then once we have this experience that we come in front of Radha Golokanda and we take darshan, and immediately it is not just a mood of appreciation, but now there's a mood of like somehow there's some deeper connection, you know. And maybe we have this experience that sometimes we take darshan of the Lord, and maybe though we are maybe taking darshan, regularly, but once we take that darshan of the Lord, all of a sudden it's like, oh, it is as if we are taking the darshan for the first time. It's like the darshan for the first time. So the Lord reveals himself based on our progress in bhakti. And then when they saw this pleasing form, then they glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this verse, today's verse, when we started reading text number 1, it says, Iti tad granatam tesham. So that were those words which were full of glories. So what were the glories? What were the prayers of the Supreme of Kumaras to the Lord? And there were different aspects of the prayers, but the main prayer, highlight of the prayer, where they actually asked for, they actually said, let our vachaha, or first chetaha, let our chetaha, let our mind be always engaged in your service. Then let our words always be just like when Tulsi is offered to your lotus feet, Tulsi herself is beautified. Similarly, let our words, when it glorifies you, let our words be actually beautified. So let our words always speak about you. And let our ears, Karna Randara, be filled with the glories about you. Right. So that was their aspiration, their prayer, that wherever we are sent, because now they are thinking that we curse these intimate devotees of the Lord. So maybe we'll be punished now, we'll be sent to hell. But wherever we are sent, let us always engage in bhakti. Let our body, our mind, our words always be engaged in service. And they also pointed out how bhakti is actually superior to even liberation, what to talk of heavenly planets. Right? And also they pointed out how bhakti can be understood only by, the Lord can be understood only by unflinching devotional service. Okay. We offer our respects to your eternal form that cannot be seen by the unfortunate people, but is manifested to us and thus has satisfied our minds and also our vision. Right? So now we'll see. So Brahmo Vacha. So Brahma is narrating this pastime to whom? Brahma is narrating this
To the
pastime
demigods.
to the demigods who have actually come because of all darkness that's covered everywhere, right? And they want to know the reason for the darkness, right? So now the Lord is going to be the Lord who is here. It says, Pratinandya. After congratulating, right? So after this congratulating the sages for their nice words, the Lord actually he began to speak. Okay, so let's see what the Lord says. What do you think the Lord will actually say? They made such nice prayers, and then also uh, um, yeah, okay. So anyone has any thoughts? What would the Lord actually say?
Lord will say that you have done the right thing by cursing them.
But is that really the mood of the Lord?
And
We can think about it. Like, see, who is so now Jay and Vijay are his dear devotees, and they are engaged in service. Like they are so intimate associates of the Lord. They are right there, always serving the Lord. These four Kumaras, they just became devotees, right? Up to this point, they were impersonalists, and they just became devotees. So naturally, the Lord would be favorable to whom? To the four Kumaras or to Jay and Vijay? And it wasn't that the Jay and Vijay had committed a very serious offense, you know. So, and also like how the point is actually that this is all finally the plan of the Lord. So why would the Lord speak in favor of the four Kumaras? Shouldn't he speak in favor of Jay and Vijay? So it's a point to think about. And I'm making this point because in the next few verses, we are going to read the words of the Lord, which may appear that what does the Lord really try to indicate? Whose side is he? And it is very gambhira that the word gambhira comes. It is very hard to understand. What is the Lord really trying to say here? Right? So even after the Lord speaks, which he speaks until text number 11, the four Kumaras say, oh, what you have spoken is very nice, but we cannot understand because it's very gambhira. right? So we'll see how the Lord actually responds to this, right? So Lord is speaking to the four Kumaras, and Jay and Vijay are right there. Okay, let's start with text number 2.
Shri Bhagavan Etoto parshado mayam jayo vijaya evacha kadarti krityamam yadvo ma bhavakratam atikramam.
Hare Krishna, translation. The personality of Godhead said, "These attendants of mine, Jaya and Vijaya by name, have committed a great offense against you because of ignoring me." Hare Krishna.
So, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Etan Tau Parshadam. And he says, Mayam. So these two are my own Parshadam, right? My own servants, my own attendants. Eva, certainly they have done what? Bahu akratam atikramam. They have committed a great offense against you. Why? Kadarti krityama, because they have ignored me. They have ignored me. Why have they ignored the Lord? Because they have ignored the conduct that is desired by the Lord one way, right? The Lord is so dear to the Brahmanas, and now they have acted in such a way which is not dear to the Brahmanas. Hence, here the Lord is saying that certainly they have made a great offense against you. So, Prabhupada in the purport, he starts off by saying, to commit an offense at the feet of the devotee of the Lord is a great wrong. Right? So certainly Vaishnava aparadh is actually a serious offense. Right? Then Prabhupada makes a point by how in Vaikuntha there can be any question of Vaishnava aparadh. Right? I mean, in Vaikuntha, everyone is purified. Everyone is engaging in service of the Lord. The quality of Vaikuntha is there is no envy. Then where is the question of Vaishnava aparadh? Right? Then Prabhupada makes a point that even in Vaikuntha, there could be certain like misunderstanding between the devotees. Right? But when in Vaikuntha there is this misunderstanding between the devotees, then the Lord actually would personally protect such people who commit this. So, right. And then Prabhupada makes a point, when one offends a devotee, one neglects the Supreme Lord himself, because the Supreme Lord loves his devotees so much that if one makes an offense to a devotee, he is actually neglecting the Supreme Lord himself. Right. So because by mistake, and again Prabhupada is saying, by mistake the doorman actually committed this offense, but because they are engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord, they are protected. So that's another very nice point here Prabhupada is making, that when we are engaged in the service of the Lord, right? Like you come to a temple, we are doing seva together. And while we are doing the seva, if there is some misunderstanding, and there is some, something happened, disagreement between two Vaishnavas. But because both of them were engaged in service to the Lord will actually protect us. Not that we take it for granted and just like act very, what's the right word? Lightly with Vaishnavas. Not that way. We be very careful with Vaishnavas, understanding the glory of Vaishnavas. But while if both of them are engaged in service, and then because the material world is, the nature is, there will be disagreements, there will be like two opinions, all those things are natural. But while both of them are engaged in service, then Krishna will protect us. Right? So that point is that. Okay. Then further, Prabhupada actually made the point that because the sages could not see the lotus feet of the Lord, that was the cause of all trouble. Therefore, he wanted to please them by personally going there. If there's an impediment for the devotee, Lord himself manages matters in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of having audience of the lotus feet. So what is the Prabhupada making the point in this purport? That he actually gives the example of Haridas Thakur. Right? So when Haridas Thakur, when he was in Jagannath Puri, then because he was born in a Mohammedan family, and he is actually Namacharya, he is Brahmaji himself, but because he was born in the Mohammedan family, he was actually considered, I'm so low born, I cannot enter, I cannot enter into the Jagannath temple. But the Lord was so kind to him that he himself every day used to come and bring Bhagavad Mahaprasad to Haridas Thakur. Imagine, Haridas Thakur could not enter Jagannath temple, or he did not want to enter out of his humility, but the Lord personally brought Jagannath Prasad and came to his house every day. Right? So Prabhupada is using this point and saying, using the example to make the point that if there is an impediment for a devotee, then Lord himself will make the arrangement in such a way that the devotee is not bereft of the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord will personally come and give darshan of himself. So Mata is asking, are there misunderstandings in Goloka Vrindavan? Well, misunderstanding in the sense that there may be like different ways of offering service to the Lord. There is no envy in Vaikuntha, but there may be certain arguments, one may say, to maybe enhance the rasa or how the service should be offered to the Lord, right? There could be different opinions in Vaikuntha that, oh, we should serve the Lord like this. No, we should serve the Lord like this. So that could be something. And maybe there are sometimes some misunderstandings as a part of a bigger pastime of the Lord. And this is what's happening here. Okay, text number 3.
Yastvetayor dando bhavadbhir mam anuvratai sa evanu matos mabhir munayo deva helanat.
Okay, text 3. Who's to read?
Hare Krishna. Oh, translation. Oh, great sages, I approve of the punishment that you who are devoted to me have meted out to them. Hare Krishna.
So I approve the punishment. So he says, Etayo, regarding these two, Jaya and Vijay, Dritaha Dandaha. Dandaha, that danda you have given them, that punishment that you have given them, Anumataha. Right? Anumataha. I approve of this punishment. And and then he further says, Deva Helanat Mam Anuvritihi. Right? Because of the offense against you, they have actually offended me. Right? Mam Anuvrate, and you who are devoted to me. So basically here, because the four Kumaras are thinking the Lord has come, he's giving darshan, but is the Lord actually angry with us? Why? Because we curse his dear devotees. So is the Lord angry with us? So one way the four Kumaras were not sure what is the Lord's attitude to us, right? We read about this point. In the previous chapter, when the Lord came out, the four Kumaras were thinking, is the Lord angry with us? Or is he happy with us? We don't know, right? But what was the verse that we read? Anyone remembers? What did the four Kumaras' realization was when the Lord actually came out? They were thinking, is the Lord angry with us? How was that answered?
The Lord, the glance of the Lord on Jai and Vijay, and then his beautiful face for the four Kumaras
Yes.
showed that.
Yes. So for Jay and Vijay, it was like the personal glance of the Lord, and that glance entered into her heart, and Jay and Vijay were like, "Oh, the Lord is actually still giving us that mercy, right? He is not taking away that sweetness." But with four Kumaras, it was just his face that was actually giving benedictions, and the four Kumaras felt, "Oh, the Lord is not angry with us." So here, the Lord is actually assuring them that actually, what you have done, it is approved by me, because that offense that they did was actually an offense against me. Because I love Brahmana so much that if someone offends a Brahmana or a Vaishnava, then actually that's an offense against me. They have actually offended me. So what you have done is actually true. Right? So you should not be afraid that you have committed an offense against Jay and Vijay. Okay. So text 4.
Tadva prasadayam yadya brahma daivam param hime tad dityatma kritam manye yat swapumbhir asatkritaha. To me, the Brahmana is the highest and most beloved personality. The disrespect shown by my attendants has actually been displayed by me because the doormen are my servitors. I take this to be an offense by myself. Therefore, I seek your forgiveness for the incident that has arisen.
So interesting. No? So what is the Lord actually saying? Tat, therefore. So why therefore? In the previous verse, it says, what you have given, I approve of that punishment. Right? So then he said, therefore, prasadayami. Right? Prasadayami means, I am seeking your forgiveness. Now one will say, why should the Lord actually ask for forgiveness? Did Lord make a mistake here? You know? One way, why should the Lord ask for forgiveness? But then he says, Brahma Daivam Param. Because Brahmanas are actually Param, the highest and the most beloved personality to me. Right? And hence, and then further he said, because that offense that is done, by Swapumbihi, by my own doorman, is actually an offense by me. So this is actually a very important point. This often when we talk of like, if there's a seminar on like leadership, leadership qualities from Srimad Bhagavatam, like how these devotees like Chaitanya Charan Prabhu or other devotees may give, they actually use this point as an example of what is a good leader. And they actually say a leader should actually take responsibility for the actions of his servants. If a servants make a mistake, then leader should actually come and say, no, this is my mistake. Because my servant has made that mistake, this is actually my mistake. That should be the position of the leader. Sorry. But what should be the servant's position? If a servant makes a leader, should say, oh, anyway, my master is that he should take responsibility. No. The servant's point should be, oh, if I make a mistake, then it will go on my master. My master's name will be actually blemished if I make a mistake. So how I have to be so careful not to make a mistake? And what is the master's position? If my servant makes any mistake, I take responsibility for it. And the Lord is showing here by his own example that he is saying, oh, I have made a mistake because these are my servants. Hence, I am begging your forgiveness. Now consider this, the four Kumaras, they actually came to take darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And somehow this whole incident happened where, it wasn't something that's expected, right? It was just like they came and then they were stopped. And it was all so sudden that, oh, they cursed. And then this whole thing happened. And then the Lord came out. And then now the Lord is saying, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I mean, that is not something the four Kumaras were expecting. They just got the blissful darshan of the Lord. But the Lord himself is saying, oh, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I am seeking your forgiveness. So first point, Prabhupada actually in the purport, he elaborates, is this point where this verse says, Brahma Daivam Param. The Lord himself is saying that these Brahmanas, his Lord is always in favor of Brahmanas, right? Which is a famous verse that we every day quote. Every day we chant at least 3 times, if not more. How many more times we have to honor prasadam? We have to chant that shloka, right? Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, right? Before offering our food, we chant this shloka. Namo Brahmanya Devaya. The Lord is actually so dear to the Brahmana and the cows, right? Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha. And then further Prabhupada says, what is the nature of a Brahmana? Om Tad Vishnu Param Padam Sada Pashyanti Surya Devi Va Chakshur Atatam Tad Vipraso Vipravo. Right. So this shloka also like so maybe in pujaris we do it. That after we do our achmana every day in the morning before we start our puja, then we chant this. Om Tad Vishnu Param Padam Sada Pashyanti Surya. That the Brahmanas, they are always looking where? Where is their focus always? At the lotus feet. Sada Pashyanti Surya. They always look at the lotus feet of the Lord, right? So because the Brahmanas are only worshipping Vishnu, right? And when Vishnu is so dear to the Brahmanas, hence Prabhupada is, hence Krishna himself is saying, Brahmana param daivam, right? They are most dear to me. Right? Now, what kind of Brahmana? Right? In Kali Yuga, one of the symptoms is, like Prabhupada often quotes us, what are the symptoms of Kali Yuga? The people who have, like, men will have long hair and think that, oh, long hair is making me very beautiful. That's a symptom of Kali Yuga. But another symptom of Kali Yuga is that a person will become a Brahmana just by a 2 paisa thread, Prabhupada says. Just by wearing 2 paisa thread, they'll think that, oh, now I have this thread, now I have a Brahmana, without having any qualities. Right? So, here, Prabhupada is actually explaining in this purport, he's saying it's not just a question of birth, but you should actually have the qualities of that of a Brahmana. If someone is a Brahmana, but he's performing activities against Vaishnavas, can he be really considered a Brahmana? No. You know? And then Prabhupada further says, a Brahmana means a Vaishnava, and a Vaishnava means a Brahmana. How do we understand this? So a Vaishnava is a Brahmana. Why is that? Because Vaishnava's realization is the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we realize the Lord as Bhagavan, does that already include the realization of Lord as Brahman? Yes. So hence a Vaishnava is actually already a Brahman. That is first point. And the second point is, as we are cultivating our bhakti, our devotional service, then we are actually developing the qualities of a Brahmana. Sama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Arjavam. Like in third canto, what are the qualities of a Brahmana? Further we'll read later. Titikshiva Karunika, Suridam Sarvadehina, Ajata Shatrava Shanta, Sadhava Sadhu Bhushanam. These are the ornaments of a sadhu. Right? Titikshivaka, he is actually very tolerant. Karunika, he is very compassionate. Suridam, he is actually friend of everyone. Ajata Shatrava, he has no enemies at all. These are the qualities of a Vaishnava. So the qualities of a Vaishnava already includes the qualities of a Brahmana as a subset. Right? So hence a Vaishnava means a Brahmana. Right? So a definition of Brahmana is Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. One who actually knows Brahman, that is a Brahmana. Or one who actually has the spiritual understanding, that is a Brahmana. Not just wearing a piece of thread. Not acting against the Vaishnava. There is no question of that person being a Brahmana. Right? So hence a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana, and a Brahmana means a Vaishnava. Okay.
Sorry, Prabhuji. How a Brahmana can be a Vaishnava also all the time? We see that, for example, the caste Brahmanas, they were against
Yeah.
Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Thakur. They even tried to kill him.
Yeah, so then they are not Brahmanas. They are not true Brahmanas. So Prabhupada point here, when he's saying a Brahmana means a Vaishnava, means a Brahmana should have that mood of appreciation for a Vaishnava, then only he is a Brahmana. Or, because see how in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita in the purport, Prabhupada actually makes a point when the first verse where it comes to the first verse of the second chapter where it says Sri Bhagwan Uvacha. In that purport, Prabhupada actually makes the point that because there are different kinds of transcendentalists, those who actually study Brahman, those who study Paramatma, and those who study Bhagwan. But because all three are engaged in the same absolute truth. Finally, they are all studying the absolute truth. Just like if someone is studying the sun, he may be studying the different aspects of the sun, but still he's studying the sun. So similarly, the Brahmins, they actually should be at least be knowledgeable of Brahman and should have appreciation of that, okay, the higher than us is Vaishnava. Hence, we actually are in line with that of the Vaishnava. Right? So they may not have complete understanding of Bhagavan, but they should be in favor of those of the Vaishnavas. So that is a true Brahmana. Otherwise, they are not Brahmana. Right? So that's the whole point here, that why Prabhupada is actually explaining this to make the point that here, because further in the next verses, the Lord is going to glorify the Brahmanas. So Prabhupada is already making the point that in the next section, when the Lord glorifies the Brahmanas, we have to understand that this is a Brahmana Vaishnava, not just a Brahmana by birth, or not just a Brahmana who is against a Vaishnava. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
So next, let's go to the next verse. So here he's basically in text number 4, he's saying that I have made this mistake. So you please forgive me. Now let's see text number 5.
Yanamani cha grinati loko britye kritagasi so sadhu vadastat kirtim hanti tvacham ivamayaha.
A wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master. Just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. Hare Krishna.
So when the Lord actually said that I have committed a mistake, I have committed an offense, you please forgive me. You know what the 4 Kumaras are thinking? They are thinking, how is it the Lord can commit an offense? I mean, like, is it possible the Lord commits an offense? So they're thinking, how can the Lord commit an offense? And even if the Lord commits an offense, who's going to punish him? Right? Who will punish the Lord? There can be no punishment, right? So here the Lord is actually answering that question. So, our acharyas, when they give the commentary, they reveal the thoughts of the other party, and then they connect the verses together. So here they are actually doing that. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that, how can the Lord commit any offense, right? Even if he does, what is his, who can punish him? Then in this verse, the Lord is answering. And he's saying what? Lokaha, people in general, Britya Krita Agasi. When a servant, Britya, right? Britasya Britya, that famous verse is there, right? Britya, a servant. When a servant actually does an offense, asadhu vadaha. People in general, they will blame the master. And then Kirtim, his reputation is actually lost, right? So basically here, what can be the punishment for the Lord? There can be no punishment, but there can be infamy. Infamy alone will be the punishment. The fame of the master is destroyed by the servant who performs sinful activity in the name of the master, right? Just like if a person has leprosy, there's a white spot on the skin, that means just on a small part of the skin, there'll be a white spot. But what will people in general say? Oh, that man has leprosy. It's just like a small spot on the skin, but the man is blamed. Similarly, when a servant does a mistake, people in general will blame the master. And it will cause infamy to the master. So actually for us, practically, this is a verse that we have to be like really a thoughtful verse that, when we wear Vaishnav Tilak, we are wearing dhoti kurta or we are dressed in Vaishnav clothes and we are going out in the public. As soon as we go out in the public, people are actually already they are thinking something about us, and the way we actually act will give a name to our entire society. And like if someone wearing Vaishnav Tilak and dhoti kurta, he's actually going out and he does something which is not a proper act, what will people say? Oh, see these Hare Krishna people. They don't know how to act. What their guru has taught them. They will blame our guru. They will blame Srila Prabhupada. They will blame our institution. Hence, when we go out in the public, how we have to be, like how Prabhupada said, my devotees should be perfect gentlemen. Perfect gentlemen. Our behavior with everyone should be really like a gentleman. And also when we go out for book distribution, what is our first motto? Leave everyone with a good impression. More than whether they take a book or not, we have to leave everyone with a good impression, because what we are actually presenting, we are representing the highest philosophy of the entire Vedas. We are representing that pure Acharya, the greatest Acharya, as Srila Prabhupada. We are actually representing him. So we have to be so careful in how we deal with people. How is our etiquette? What is our behavior? What is our character? Because anything we do will bring infamy to the movement. Right? And on the other side, on the positive side also, if we act nicely, we are actually, proper behavior, proper character, then people will appreciate, oh, see these Hare Krishnas, they are so wonderful. They are so wonderful. They are so nice. They deal so nicely. They distribute prasadam. Wherever they go, they have some prasadam. They, are very nice people. So what we do actually makes an impression on our master. Right? So Prabhupada here in this purport, he is a short purport, but very nice. He says, first point he actually says, anyone who has become a Vaishnava has developed all the good qualities of the demigods. Who knows this verse? As stated in the Bhagavatam. Fifth canto.
Yasyasti bhaktir.
Yes.
Yasyasti.
Canto, 18th chapter. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunes tatra samasate surah. What does it say? Sarvair gune tatra samase surah. All the good qualities of a demigod will actually manifest in a devotee. Right? So, and then further Prabhupada says that 26 qualities mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Which section? Anyone knows? We discussed this actually just in the last chapter. Which section of Chaitanya Charitamrita all these qualities are described? Madhya Lila, 22nd chapter. That's instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, text number 77. So 22, 77. Right? So we see that the qualities of a Vaishnava. So just to wake up everyone, let's see on the chat, can we post any of the qualities of the Vaishnavas that come to our mind quickly without looking at those verses? Or just say it loud. What are the qualities of a Vaishnava? Any qualities that come to your mind? I just mentioned a few.
Humility.
Humility, very nice, okay. Simplicity, okay, very nice. Go ahead. We have so many people here. We should be able to get many. Non-envious.
Compassion.
Compassion, yes.
Compassion.
Yes, very nice. He's very merciful. What is that?
Gratitude.
Indiscriminate, Prabhuji.
Gratitude. Okay, yeah. I mean, yes, certainly. I mean, I don't think that's explicitly mentioned as gratitude, but yes, in the mood of like being merciful, being humble, then indiscriminate in the sense like he's equal to everyone, right? He's merciful. He's a surrendered soul. Yes, he's a surrendered soul. He's expert, right? Daksha is one of the qualities of Vaishnava. Then, anything else?
Tolerant.
Tolerance,
Tolerant.
yes. He's very tolerant, yes. He's friendly. He's poetic. Okay, let me just share my screen.
He's a benefactor to all living entities.
Yes, he's a benefactor of all living entities. Nice, very nice. Okay, here's my screen.
So this is one of our questions in the open book, closed book
The qualities of a Vaishnava?
quality. Right, 10 out of 26.
Okay, that's good. So let me share my screen. Where is it? Here. So, can you see my screen? Kripalu akritadroha satya sarasama nidosha vadanya mridu suchi akinchana sarvopakaraka shanta krishnaika sharana. Krishnaika sharana. So of all the qualities, this is the most important. What is that? He surrendered to Krishna. Akama, aniha, stira, vijata sadguna, mita bhuka, apramata, manada, amani, gambhira, karuna, Maitreya, friendship. Kavi, poet. Daksha, expert. Mauni, silent. Right? So merciful, akrita droha, not defiant. So Prabhupada translated as humble. Satyasara, he's truthful. Sama, he's equal to everyone. Nidosha, he's faultless. Vadanya, magnanimous. Mridu, mild. Suchi, clean. Akinchana, without material possession. Sarva Upakaraka, working for the welfare of everyone. Shanta, peaceful. Krishneka Sharanam, exclusively surrendered to Krishna. Desireless, indifferent to material acquisitions. Fixed, completely controlling the 6 bad qualities: lust, anger, greed, etc. Eating only as much as required, without inebriation. Respectful, without false prestige. Grave, compassionate, a friend, poet, expert, and silent. So these are 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. Right? So it's nice to memorize this list because we have to cultivate these qualities, right? So Prabhupada makes a point. There are 26 qualities mentioned on Chaitanya Charitamrita. And then he makes a very, very important point. A devotee should always see that his Vaishnava qualities increase with the advancement of his Krishna consciousness. So as we are progressing, like that's why I'm saying that's nice to memorize his qualities. Sorry, because as we are progressing in our bhakti, we should see whether these qualities are increasing. Right? Is our quality of mercy, is our quality of truthfulness, right? Is our quality of detachment, are these qualities increasing as we are progressing in bhakti? That should happen, right? If that's not happening, then we should actually introspect and see what am I missing. And then further, Prabhupada says, a devotee should be blameless because any offense by the devotee is a scar on this personality of Godhead. Imagine, right? So that's why being a Vaishnava is not an easy task. We have to be faultless because any mistake we made is actually a mistake, a scar on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So devotee's duty is to be always conscious in dealing with others, especially with another devotee of the Lord. We have to be very careful, very conscious in dealing with everyone. Right? So I was meditating on this point that how Prabhupada actually used the word conscious. And why this word conscious? So I was thinking about this point that like when we are acting with anyone, right? Let's say we are dealing with another devotee. Now, if there is another senior devotee who is watching us, what will be our behavior? We'll be so careful to have our best of our behavior. Isn't it? Right? Imagine our guru is sitting in the same room and you're talking to someone. Your behavior will be like, oh, my guru is watching me. I have to be in the best of my behavior, right? So the point about being conscious. So if we are conscious, is the guru always watching us? Actually, the guru is always watching us. It's just a lack of our consciousness. So if we are really conscious that, yes, our guru is always watching us, then we will always be in the best of our behavior. And finally, our entire society is what? International Society for Krishna Conscious. We are trying to develop that conscious that Krishna is always looking upon us. So hence, our behavior with everyone should be perfect. And hence, a Vaishnava should be faultless. Should be faultless. Okay. Next, text number 6.
Yasyamritamālaya shashravanavagaha sadhya punati jagad ashvapachad vikuntaha soham bhavadbhya upalabda shuddhirti kirtish chindyam swabahum apiva pratikula vrittim.
Anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the ear the glorification of my name, fame, etc. Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you.
Actually, this entire next few verses is like so interesting what the Lord is actually saying. So what is he saying here? He's saying, Yasya Amrita Amala Yashaha, right? Amrita, nectar. Amala means without any mala. So that means uncontaminated. And then Yashaha, glories. So when anyone hears the glories, the nectarian, uncontaminated glories of when that in avagaha, it enters into, the ear of any person, even that person may be a sopacha. Who is a sopacha? A dog eater. Right? Aho bata sopachatu garyan. Yad jivagre vartate nama tubhyam. Right? So this comes further in the third canto itself, where Devahuti actually says, Aho bata. It is so amazing. Right? This is almost surprising. Aho bata swapachatu garyan. Even the dog eaters, they can become qualified to do a Vedic yagya. By what? By chanting the holy name of the Lord. That is the glory of chanting, right? Devotee said. So here, the same, almost similar point is said that sopacha, even a dog eater, when he hears that nectar, amala, amrita amala yashaha, that enters into the ears, immediately that person, right? I mean, what is the result of that? Then he says further, uh, he uses a word. Yeah. So Jagat universe, sorry, including the dog, is immediately punati, right? So punati. So that's the main result. Sadhya punati, right? So as soon as that it enters into the ear, what happened? Sadhya punati, right? Even a dog eater, actually the entire universe gets purified, right? So that's a very nice point, right? So one way, who is the Lord glorifying here up to this point? Who is the Lord glorifying up to this point? That anyone who hears the glories, his glories, gets purified immediately. Who is the Lord glorifying here?
Holy
His
name,
devotees.
Holy.
Krishna Katha.
Okay, Krishna
The
Katha.
Is it the Brahmanas?
Okay, is it the Brahmanas? Okay, so it's very interesting this section, and that's why I'm asking this question: that who is he really glorifying here? Okay, so he made the point that anyone who hears will get purified. Then further he said, "Now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if his conduct is found hostile to you." So actually, he's making the point in this verse. If you see, Bhavat Bhaya Upalabdha. If you see word to word, Aham Bhavat Bhaya Upalabdha. I have received this credit that anyone who hears about my glory will get purified from you, Brahmanas. I have received this credit from you. He's telling the four Kumaras, right? And hence, if anyone does anything against you, I am willing to chop off that hand. Even if I do anything that against you, Chindyam, I will cut off my hand if I am doing anything which is against you. So here is actually making the point that he's saying that the four Jay and Vijay, they have actually made an offense against you, right? Now they are actually objects of my affection. So what to talk of objects of my affection, I will actually cut off the object of my own identity. I will cut off my own hand. Now this verse is like, does it make sense? Like, how can the Lord cut off his own hand? Like, is there any point to that? You know? And then also, is there any point when he's saying that actually my glory, that anyone hears my Harikatha will get purified, is from you, the Brahmanas? Is there any point to this? So at this point, the four Kumaras are confused. They are thinking that the Lord is getting his glories because of us. I mean, we are created from the Lord. How can the Lord get his glories from us? So actually, when we come to this end of this section, so Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually makes this point, and Prabhupada in purport then he explains that one way the Lord is being little sarcastic here. he's kind of making a joke, in the sense that, yes, I love Brahmanas, but these Jay and Vijay are my own associates, So yes, I love Brahmanas. They have a very high position, but this Jay and Vijay are my own associates. So one way, in a sarcastic mode, he's actually making the point that my glories is because of you. But how do we, as a personal instruction, take this verse? We can say this verse, like the next few verses, as glories of Vaishnavas. Because in the heart of the Lord, what is there finally? More affection for Jay and Vijay, or more affection for the four Kumaras? Naturally, Jay and Vijay, because they are his own devotees. These four Kumaras just became Vaishnavas. Just not. Right? So naturally, he has affection. So when we are reading these verses, we can say this is the glory of a Vaishnava. Now, if we have to understand this verse for a Vaishnava, is this applicable? Yes, it is applicable, because who can speak the glory of the Lord, which is Amala and Amrita, that will actually purify the whole world, even a Swapacha? Only when those words comes from the lips of a pure devotee. When a pure devotee speaks Harikatha, then that has the potency of purifying the entire world, including a Swapacha. Okay, so the glory is actually that of the Vaishnava. So hence, Vishwanath Thakur is making the point. It is almost like the Lord is being a little sarcastic here, right? He's making a joke, and that way he's saying, I'll lop off my hand, even if someone makes an offense to you. Okay. Is this okay? I mean, these verses are a little bit, and then this is just the first verse, and we'll read further also how he'll give credit to the Brahmana. Everyone, I want to hear your feedback on this points that I just said.
Prabhu, the hands of the Lord represents the Kshatriya class. Could it connect anywhere there? Like,
But where are the Kshatriyas here?
they're in material world, there's nothing there in spiritual world because they're beyond Varnashram. Right.
Like in the scene, there are
So,
no Kshatriyas, right? If one side was Kshatriyas, maybe we could consider, but Vishwanath
generally,
is actually making the point that the Lord, see, Jay and Vijay are his object of affection, right? He loves them so much. He's saying, to talk of the object of affection, I will cut off my own hand, which is an object of my identity. So what does this indicate? Even in the material world, I mean, who would be willing to that? Maybe a mother, because mother's love is like so deep. Maybe, if there is something accident happening, or, like they're in the car and some accident is like they're in the accident. What is the mother's, because of her love? She will sacrifice her own hand to protect the child. Why? Because there's so much deep love there. So what is the Lord's point here? I love my servants so much that I'm willing to sacrifice myself for them. And whose glory is the Lord speaking? Actually, Jay and Vijay, not the four commandments. But indirectly, he's saying, my glory is because of you, the four commandments. Okay. So Prabhupada in the purport, he's
Prabhuji, this whole communication between the Lord and the Brahmanas, it's not at the material level, right? It's at the in Vaikuntha, correct?
Yes.
So where is the point of chopping off the hand comes in there? There is nothing. Is there a hand in this case?
I mean, the Lord's hand is there, right? He has this four-handed form we read. He's doing his darshan, so he has four hands. But yes, certainly there's no question of cutting it off because it's completely spiritual, right? It's like, if spiritual, there's no question. But the point is the point that which I just explained, that as a mother, she may be willing to sacrifice her own hand for the safety of the child. Why? Because there's so much love. That intensity of love is so deep that she say, oh, I can chop off my hand for the protection of my child. Right? A mother may be willing to do that. So that is because of deep love. So similarly here, the Lord has so much deep love for Jay and Vijay that he's making this point as an expression, as a speech of expression. Is it okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah.
It's just it's an expression of love, you know. It's like that's how much I love you that I'm willing to sacrifice my own hand if that is required for you, you know. So that's that way.
Thank you, Puri.
So can we also think in this context that, is actually telling that, because Jai Vijay would be going down in the material world, and then there would be all this drama of like, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu coming in scene and all the next three. There would be Shishupal would be actually causing infamy to the Lord, you know. So I'm trying to like think in like the whole picture that the Lord is seeing, because he knows everything. How it would be like, he's saying that I will cut off my hand in the sense like, my own limbs, because the whole body functions together, right? The Lord functions together along with his associates. He is never alone. So he comes down to the material world. He has his limbs working for him, giving him the chivalry, right? Could we think?
Like, while you were speaking, I was thinking of this point that it's not that in our Acharya's commentary, but we are just, adding, making a point here that, it could be that because Jaya and Vijay are as dear to me as my own hand, when they go down, I'm going to kill them, right? Just like cutting my hand. I'm going to kill them so that they will actually come back to me. So one way maybe an indication, but this is just we don't have any acharyas. At least I have not seen acharyas making this point, but yeah. Okay, so let's see. Prabhupada in the purport, he says, anyone who takes to Krishna consciousness in all sincerity, even if not very advanced in good behavior, is purified. Just by hearing Krishna Katha, one will get purified, right? So even if someone commits sinful activity accidentally or engages in habitual low activity, he should not be considered fallen, right? So why is Prabhupada making all these points here? Right. So because this verse says that even a swapacha, even a dog eater will get purified by hearing Harikatha, Prabhupada is actually making this point that he says that when we take up Krishna consciousness, right? So there are two relationships that we are actually dealing with. One in terms of our spiritual self and one in terms of our material self. So when one actually takes up Krishna consciousness, maybe when he is actually before taking up Krishna consciousness, he has a material body which has, more tendency of committing sinful activities or not so much of good character. So when he actually takes up Krishna consciousness, he will get purified, no doubt about it. Spiritual relationships will get purified, but maybe because of that tendency of having that body and a certain nature associated with the body, he may do certain activities which may be not of the best category. But still, that person should not be considered fallen. Right? So this person should not be considered criticized. But the okay. So Prabhupada makes a point. He quotes Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 30 and 31. He says, Apichet sudacharo bhajate mam ananya bhag sadhur eva samantavya samyak vyavastito saha shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigarchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranishati. Very famous verses from the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is making the point that even if one commits an abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he should be considered saintly. Why? Because he's properly fixed in his determination, and any activity he may do because of his previous conditioner is only an accidental activity. It's not an intentional activity. Hence, such a devotee, such a person should be considered saintly, and one should not criticize such a person. So that's the point Prabhupada is making this purport. A Vaishnava should not be evaluated in terms of his body. Right. His attitudes are forbidden because anyone who takes to Krishna consciousness is understood to be fully purified. So Lord assures herein that he is ready to give protection to his devotee, even if there is a need to cut off a part of his own body. So basically the point that Prabhupada's whole theme here is one who actually takes up Krishna consciousness, he will get purified. He will get purified. And even if he commits something which may not appear to the best, the Lord will protect him. One should not criticize such a devotee. The Lord loves his devotee so much that he will give all protection. To the extent, if required, he will cut off his hand. Right? So that's the glory of a Vaishnava. Okay, so let's continue. Text number 7.
Yatsevaya charana padma pavitra renu sadya kshata kilamalam pratilabdha shilam nashrir viraktam api mam vijahati yasyaha prekshala itare niyaman vahanti.
Hare Krishna. The Lord continued, because I am the servitor of my devotees, my lotus feet have become so sacred that they immediately wipe off all the sin. And I have acquired such a disposition that the goddess of fortune does not leave me, even though I have no attachment for her, and others praise her beauty and observe sacred vows to secure from her even a slight favor. Hare Krishna.
Okay. So here it's saying further. So it's continuing from the previous verse. So previous verse, what was the theme? That my glories are so purifying, but that credit is because of you, Brahmanas. Right? Because of you, Brahmanas, I have the credit that my glories will purify the entire universe. Right? Now, next verse, here he's saying, because of yam sevaya charana, because of service to Brahmanas. Right? Previous verse was, because of Brahmanas, my glories are so wonderful. Now here, because of service to Brahmanas, right? Because of my service to the Brahmanas, then what happens? Charana Padma, the dust from my lotus feet, right? Renu means dust, becomes so sacred that it immediately wipes out all the malam, all the akila malam, right? All the sins are wiped out. By my service to the Brahmanas, the dust of the lotus feet becomes so sacred that it immediately wipes out all sins. Like when we take the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord, then we are getting wiped off of all sins. Right? Then further, pratilabdha shilam, and I have acquired such a disposition, na shri viraktim api, even though I have no attachment for Lakshmi ji. The Lord is saying, even though I have no attachment for Lakshmi ji, Vijahati Yasha, the goddess of fortune, does not leave me. Right? Preksha Lava Artha. While others, even up to the stage of Brahma, they are Niyamam Vahanti. They are observing sacred vows just to get a slight favor from Lakshmi. So what is the second part of this? So first part of this shloka is the dust of my lotus feet is actually will wipe off all the sins. That credit is because of my service to the Brahmanas. First part. Second part is what he says, that I have acquired such a disposition that even though I have no attachment for Lakshmi, Lakshmi does not leave me. And this is because of you, Brahmana. Because of my service to the Brahmana, Lakshmi does not leave me. Does that make sense?
Prabhuji, why Lord has no attachment for Lakshmi ji? Isn't Lakshmi ji his devotee?
Yeah. So here, actually, the point is, actually, this is actually further explained in the next shloka also. Is that right? Okay, in this shloka itself. So, the point here, where does this come? I'm just looking at further. This point comes where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that what does this mean that the Lord is not attached to Lakshmi ji? Let me just find a shloka. 1 minute. Oh, actually, it comes later in this chapter, in text number 21 of this chapter. So again, that same point is made there. So there actually, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur actually explains what does it mean that Lord is not attached to Lakshmi ji. That means Lakshmi ji is who? The consort of Narayan, right? Now, is the Lord attached to Lakshmi ji because Lakshmi ji is his wife? No. So that is the point that is actually made here. That it is not because Lakshmi ji is my wife, hence I am attached to her. I am attached to her, why? Because of her seva to me. So that is the point here. So that comes later also, but here the point is made that Lakshmi ji does not leave my service even though I'm not attached to her because of you, because of my service to the Brahmins. Is it okay, Mataji? Vrindavan Vilasani.
Yes, Prabhuji, yes. We have read this before that Lord Krishna was accepted all those 16,000 princesses because of their devotion. He doesn't need anyone as wives, but because of their devotion, he accepted.
First canto we read that. Yeah. Okay. So in the purport, Prabhupada starts it so nicely. He says, the relationship between the Lord and his devotee is transcendently beautiful. The devotee thinks that it is due to being a devotee of the Lord that he is elevated in all good qualities. So a devotee thinks that because I took up bhakti, the Lord has actually given me all these good qualities. And the Lord is thinking that because of my service to my Vaishnava, all my transcendental qualities have increased. Right? So the devotee is always anxious to serve the Lord, and the Lord is always anxious to serve his devotee. Right? What is the example of this? The devotee is always anxious to serve the Lord, and Lord is always anxious to serve his devotee.
Krishna Arjuna Prabhuji.
Krishna and Arjuna, like the Pandavas and Krishna. Krishna is always eager to serve the Pandavas. Right? Pandavas are always eager to serve Krishna. Right? So all the examples we see. So Lord is actually anxious to serve his devotees. Right? And the Lord is cannot tolerate any inconvenience on part of his devotee. Therefore, he is Bhakta Vatsala. Okay, next verse. Text number 8.
So, Prabhuji, one question. Why does Prabhuji call, say, my lotus feet? Why would somebody want to refer themselves feet as a lotus feet?
Well, see, one way, this is the Lord himself speaking, right? And he is glorifying himself. Like when he says that, when people speak of my glories, all their sinful reactions are washed away. Right? So see, even in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu, that I am the source of everything. Now, is Krishna being like boastful there? No, he's just actually making his he's just making the point about his true self, true glory for the benefit of others. So Krishna's feet is actually like a shape of a lotus or the color of a lotus. So hence he himself is saying, my lotus feet, Padma Renu, right? So the dust of my lotus feet. But who is he giving credit to? The point is he's giving credit to my dust of my lotus feet have become so glorious because of the Vaishnavas. Because of my service to the Vaishnavas, the dust of my feet has become so glorious. So, I mean, he's a Lord, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's making that my lotus feet because his feet are like lotus. His feet are in the color of a lotus. So, okay, next.
All right, thank you.
Naham tatadmi rajamana havirvitane Chotad grihita plutam addanhuta bhunmukena Yad brahmanasya mukatascharato nughasam Tushtasya maya vahitar nija karma pakai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I do not enjoy the oblations offered by the sacrifice in the sacrificial fire, which is one of my own mouths, with the same relish as I do the delicacies overflowing with ghee, which are offered to the mouths of the Brahmanas who have dedicated to me the results of their activities and who are ever satisfied with my prasada.
So when we do a fire yajna and we are offering grains into the fire, swaha, we offer ghee, we offer grains, right? We have seen, everyone has seen a fire yagya. Now here he's saying, Admi Yajamana Hari Vitani. So I eat the oblations offered by the sacrifices in the sacrificial fire, right? Krishna accepts all those. But na aham tatha. But I do not enjoy that so much as I enjoy when someone feeds a Vaishnava, or here particularly a Brahmana. And what kind of food? A food that is dipped with ghee. So it says here, Socha Grihata Plutam. When food is mixed with pouring ghee, right? And we see that, I mean, I'm sure every tradition has this, like in my culture, in my family, like they have the thing that they make this chapatis, like it's called, anyway, it's a more modern name, they call it double chapati, but they make like so thin. They'll make a chapati and then they'll like cut it half, like, like make the top layer and bottom layer, they separate into two. Then they'll take each one, they'll dip it in ghee. Like they'll take a whole bowl of ghee, they'll dip it in ghee and dripping, they'll serve you like this, like ghee, roti. That's how they used to do it in my like, and we used to relish it actually. So, but the point is that here in this verse, Krishna is saying, instead of like, yeah, I accept the grains and ghee that is offered in the fire yagya, but I relish it more when the Vaishnavas, my devotees or Brahmanas here particularly, are fed food that is dipped in ghee, then I relish it more. That means I eat through the mouth of to the mouth of Brahmanas, right? Right. And who are these Brahmanas? Yet Brahmanasya Mukhatasya. When the mouth of the Brahmana is given, then who are these Brahmanas? Anughasam Tushtasya Mai, who are satisfied only with my prasad. And the Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, they'll eat only food that is offered to the Lord. Right? So when Brahmanas or Vaishnavas are actually served, then the Lord is very much pleased. Right? When prasadam is given to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, the Lord is very much pleased. So hence in everyone, all of our programs, we end with what? Prasadam distribution. Right? Because as soon as the Vaishnavas are served prasad, the Lord is more pleased than offerings of the fire yagya. Right? So that's the point here. And Nija Karma Pakahi. And who are these Brahmanas, Vaishnavas? Who are dedicated all their activities to the Lord. Right? Those Vaishnavas, not just any Brahmana, but a Brahmana Vaishnava who has dedicated all his activities to the Lord. When he is served nice food dipped in ghee, then the Lord is very much pleased. The Lord is very satisfied. So Prabhupada purpose is a Vaishnava does not take anything that's not offered to the Lord. A Vaishnava would have only Krishna Prasadam, right? What is the example here of someone who was offered something which was not offered to the Lord, and then he said, whole life I will not eat that. Right? We read in Bhakti Sansai Thakur. He just once, as a 5-year-old boy, yeah, I think a 5-year-old boy, right? Or actually younger, when he was 3 years, I think, as a 3-year-old boy. Imagine Bhakti Sansai Thakur once just unknowingly, he just went, there was a mango, he just went, he ate. And then his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, mildly chastised him that, oh, it was not offered to Krishna. We should first offer to Krishna. And imagine Bhakti Sansai Thakur as a 3-year-old boy. He took a vow. Oh, I ate something that's not offered to Krishna. Entire life, I will not eat mangoes because I ate something that's not offered to Krishna. That was the level of, strictness of Bhakti Sansai Thakur. And he did not eat mangoes for his entire life just because he ate one mango that was not offered to the Lord. So Vaishnava does not take anything without offering it to the Lord. And the Lord also relishes giving food to Vaishnavas. So when Vaishnavas eat, which is that shloka? Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado, right? The 4 kinds of foodstuffs. When the devotees, the disciples relish these 4 kinds of food, then the guru is very pleased, isn't it? That we sing every day in the morning, Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavat Prasado, right? So the guru is pleased by that. So similarly here, the Lord is pleased when the Vaishnavas are fed. And then Prabhupada here gives an example of Advaita Acharya and Haridas Thakur. Right? So there's a story that how Advait Acharya, he was actually recognized by all the Brahman community and Vaishnava community as the most learned. Like he was very recognized, a very, as a top of the Brahmana or Vaishnava community. And then once when Advaita Acharya was doing the Shraddha ceremony, when they do the Shraddha ceremony and offering to our forefathers, then after the ceremony, the custom is the offering. The first offering from that is given to the most elevated of all Brahmanas in that assembly. Right? So Advaita Acharya, after he got the first offering, he actually gave it to Haridas Thakur. Now imagine at that time in a society, Haridas Thakur was said to be like, oh, he's born in a Mohammedan family. He's like a low birth, you know. And then Haridas Thakur actually questioned, what are you doing, Advaita Acharya? You're feeding me? I am born in a low family. What will others say? And what does Advaita Acharya reply? He says, Tumi khaile hoya koti brahmana bhojana. Tumi khaile hoya koti brahmana bhojana eta bali shraddha patra koidle bhojana. Right? He's saying, feeding you, tumi khaile. If you eat this, koti brahmana bhojana. It is like feeding 10 million brahmanas. Ete boli. He said this, and Shraddha Patra Karile Bhojana. He actually gave the Shraddha Patra to Haridas Thakur. So Prabhupada talks about that in the purport. So when Brahmanas, Vaishnavas are pleased, then the Lord is very, very happy. Right? So Prabhupada concludes this purport by saying, in this age, therefore it is recommended chanting the holy name of the Lord and pleasing Vaishnavas. Serve Vaishnavas. Serve Vaishnavas and chant the holy name of the Lord. You'll get all success. Right? And it is a very nice culture we have even in our society that we invite Vaishnavas to our house, we cook nicely, we invite our Guru to our house, we cook, we serve nicely. And that's very nice. The Lord is very pleased by that activity. Text 9.
Yesham viparmyahamakanda vikunta yoga maya vibhuti ramalangri raja kiritai vipramstu kona vishaheta yad arhanambha sadhya punati sahachandra vilalama lokan.
Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I am the master to my unbounded internal potency, and the water of the Ganges is the remnant left after my feet are washed. That water sanctifies the three worlds, along with Lord Shiva, who bears it on his head. If I can take the dust of the feet of the Vaishnava on my head, who will refuse to do the same? Hare Krishna.
Okay. So here in this verse, he's actually making the point that he says, Yesham for the Brahmanas, Bibharmi, I bear, right? Okay, we'll come back to the internal energy. But he's saying, I, actually for the Brahmanas, what do? I take the Angri Raja Kiritihi. I take the dust from the lotus feet of these Brahmanas and put it on my helmet. Right? Kiritihi, on my helmet. I take the dust of the Brahmanas and put it on my helmet. Right? Ka no vishahet, who will refuse to do so? If I, and then further he actually says, who is I? Krishna is making the point, Aham Akhanda Vikunta Yogamaya. I am the unbroken, unobstructed internal energy. When I, who is Yogamaya, the source of the unobstructed Yogamaya, the internal spiritual energy, if that the Lord himself is taking the dust from the lotus feet of Brahmanas and putting it on his helmet, who would actually refuse to take that dust? Right? And then further he actually says, Yet Arana Amba, the water that's washed at feet of the Lord, that is actually Sadhya, Punati. It actually purifies Chandra Lalama and Lokan. That water purifies, who's Chandra Lalama? Chandra Lalama. So I was actually looking this word because I was just curious. Chandra Lalama. Here it says Lord Shiva. And, so there is a Sanskrit dictionary, right? In Sanskrit dictionary. So you certain words you can, I mean, Sanskrit, we are reading Sanskrit. You can look up the words. Now, the commenters who are actually explaining Bhagavata, they have said that certain words in the Srimad Bhagavata is actually, so let's say someone is writing a commentary and he looks up Chandra Lalama. I want to see this word in the Sanskrit dictionary. And if he searches that word, it will say, yes, he'll go to a Sanskrit discussion, he'll find this word, Chandra Lalama. Say, okay, the meaning, and then say, these words have been quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 16th chapter, text number 9. Refer to that shloka to understand the meaning. Now you went to the dictionary to understand the meaning, and the dictionary is saying, come back to the verse to understand the meaning. Then you'll be, how do I understand the meaning? The way to understand the meaning of these words is through the commentary of our acharyas. And there are actually words in Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Radhika Raman Prabhu was making this point because he did an entire PhD on Jiva Goswami commentary. So he was actually saying that how when he was doing the study of Bhagavatam, he actually found that there are so many words where in Bhagavatam, where the only place where the word is used is that particular shloka. So how do you understand meaning? Just by the commentary of our acharyas, right? So this Chandra Lalama. So when I searched this word, it just said Lord Shiva, quoted this exact same verse and said, in this verse, our acharyas have used the word Lord Shiva as the meaning because Lord Shiva has has a moon on his head, So that way. So here, coming back to the verse, here it says, the water that has washed the feet of the Lord, that actually purified Lord Shiva and all the three worlds. Isn't that true? Right? When Muhammad Dev actually he pierced the universe, then the Ganges actually entered. And who actually held it on his head? Lord Shiva. Right? So it's purifying Lord Shiva himself, and then it is purifying all the three worlds. So again, the main point here of this is when the dust of my lotus feet is purifying Lord Shiva, I actually, I am the source of that internal energy. When I actually take the dust of my lotus feet on my, when I take the dust of the Brahmanas on my helmet, who would refuse to do that? That means what? If any offense that is actually made by a Brahmana, everyone should tolerate it. No one should take that offense seriously. Okay. That's the point. The Prabhupada and purport, he compares the internal energy and the external energy of the Lord. In the internal energy, all the opulences are undisturbed. It is a spiritual world. It's a kingdom of God. It is a real opulence. External energy, all the opulences are temporary. It's a material world. It is a reflection of the glory of the spiritual world. The real glory is in the spiritual world. Material world is just a reflection of that glory. Right? And that entire material world is purified by the dust from the lotus feet of the Lord himself. Text number 10.
Ye me tanurvi javaran duhatir madiya bhutanya labdha sharanani chabheda budhya Drakshyantyaghakshata trisho yahimanyavastan gridra rushamamakushantya dandanetuhu.
The Brahmanas, the cows, and the defenseless creatures are my own body. Those whose faculty of judgment has been impaired by their own sin look upon these as distinct from me. They are just like furious serpents, and they are angrily torn apart by the bills of the vulture-like messengers of Yamaraj, the superintendent of sinful persons.
So here, what is the Lord saying? The Lord is saying that those personalities who actually see a difference, Bheda means a difference. They consider a difference between my body and the body of Dvija Varat, right? The best of the Brahmanas, and Duatihi, the cows, right? And Alabda Sharani, the defenseless living entities, right? So that basically includes the women, the children, the old men, right? So one who actually sees a difference between my body and the body and these five personalities, the best of the Brahmanas, the cows, the women, the children, and the old men, that person is actually making the difference only because of Drishaha Agaha Shataha, because his vision is impaired because of his sin, Agaha. Because he is doing sinful activities, hence his vision is actually impaired and he cannot see the right way, and hence he's making a difference. Right? And for these people, what will happen? It says Gridaha Rushaha. Just like when vultures, they actually see angry serpents, they actually come and tear open the angry serpent. Similarly, Yamaraj, Adidanda Netuhu, the enraged servants of Yamaraj will come and tear open those personalities who will see a difference between the Lord and the Brahmanas. So Prabhupada in the purport, he talks about how these five personalities, cow, brahmanas, women, children, and old men, should always be given protection. Right? Should always be given protection. These, the Lord himself is saying that I am non-different from these personalities. So there should always be protection. One should always think of the welfare of these personalities. One should always think about their benefit. Next verse, text number 11. So we'll do two more and then we'll take a break.
Ye brahmanan maidiya kshipatorchayantas tushya dridasmita sudokshita padma vaktraha vanyanuraga kalayatma javad grinantaha sambhodayantyahami ivaham uparitastai.
On the other hand, they captive my heart, who are gladdened in heart, and who their lotus faces, enlightened by nectarian smiles, respect the Brahmanas, even though the Brahmanas utter harsh words. They look upon the Brahmanas as my own self and pacify them by praising them in loving words, even as a son would appease an angry father, or as I'm pacifying you.
So basically, what is the Lord saying? That those personalities, Brahmana Mai, the Brahmanas who are like my own self, even though Shipataha, even though these Brahmanas may utter harsh words, what do? Those personalities, on the other hand, when the Brahmanas speak harsh words, they archayantaha, they respect them. Tushyat Hridaya, with hearts gladdened. Smita Ukshita Padma Vaktraha, with lotus face enlightened by nectarian smiles. Then, next part is Vanya Anuraga Kalaya Atmavat Grinata. They pacify them by praising them in loving words, as a son would appease an angry father, or as I am pacifying you, then I am controlled by those personalities. Right? So what is this here verse? So if a Brahmana, right, Brahmana A, says some harsh word, on the other side, the person who is hearing the harsh word, if that person, right, the other person on this side, he actually still respects the Brahmana, still with hearts which is gladdened and says like, oh, actually, I deserve this, what you have said, right? With lotus face, enlightened with nectarian smile, he's still having this smile with lotus face. He's actually saying, praising, oh Brahmana, you are so good. And in that way, he glorifies and pacifies the Brahmana. Then I am controlled by that person. Glorification of whom? Brahmana or Jai and Vijay? Who is the Lord glorifying here?
Jai and Vijay.
Jai and Vijay, right? So actually, if you see this entire section, and this is the last, right? Okay, let me see it. Yeah, so Prabhupada and purport actually makes this point. He says many instances, person, we see, and Prabhupada is saying that there are many instances when a person is cursed by another person, but the person who is cursed, he does not counter curse, or he does not say anything bad to the person who's cursed, but rather he actually submits to that person. And Prabhupada in the purport, he gives the example of how when the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva and Nalakuvar, right? When Narada came there, They were so intoxicated with drinks and lust that they did not even cover their body. They were still naked, And then Narada, he saw them and he cursed them. I am a Brahmana, a sage. And then, don't have even that courtesy to cover your body. I curse you. You become trees, because you want to be naked, you stand like naked trees, And Narada cursed. And what did Manikriva and Nalakumer do? They accepted that curse. They did not counter curse. They knew Narada, such a great personality. So whatever he's cursing in that curse, that is a benediction. That is a blessing. And what was the blessing for them? That they got personal. Like, imagine that blessing. Who would not want that blessing? To be in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and to see Lord Krishna's childhood pastimes. Right? This was a blessing. Right? So similarly here, in this pastime, Jay and Vijay, when they were cursed, did they seek revenge? They just submitted. They fell at the feet. Right? So when someone does that, then the Lord says, I am actually conquered by such personalities. Right. Okay. So that's that. So that's text number 11. Okay. And text number 12 is his final, after all this glorification. Now in text number 12, the Lord is making a request to the Brahmanas. Okay. Let's do 12.
Tanme svabartur avasayamalakshamano yushmargati kramagatim pratipadya sadyaha bhuyo mamantikamitam tad anugraho me yat kalpatam achirato britayor vivasaha.
Hare Krishna. These servants of mine have transgressed against you, not knowing the mind of their master. I shall therefore deem it a favor done to me if you order that, although reaping the fruit of their transgression. They may return to my presence soon, and the time of their exile from my abode may expire before long. Hare Krishna.
So here, therefore, tat, it starts with tat. Therefore, swabhartur, my own, swabhartur is, okay, so may swabhartur, right? So he's saying, these, my servants, not knowing my intention, right? My intention, they have actually committed an vyatikrama, an offense against you. Therefore, although they have to reap the fruits of this wrong act, but let them bhuya mama antikam. Let them come back to me very soon. Anugraha me. Please do a favor upon me. Imagine, the four Kumaras are gone to see the Lord. First time darshan. And after that whole incident, the Lord is saying, you please do a favor upon me. I mean, come on, you have created us. Why are you asking us a favor? Right? So anugraha me. Please do a favor. And kalpitam achirataha briteo vivashaha. Let it be arranged that the exile of these two servants may expire soon, and very soon they can actually come back to me. So this verse is actually showing the heart of Krishna. How Krishna is so affectionate to his devotees that for his devotees, Jay and Vijay, he is actually saying, oh Kumaras, you please do me a favor. Let them come back to me. Let them come back to me. And Prabhupada makes a point in purport how the Lord is so anxious to get his servants back to Vaikuntha as soon as possible. Right? So that's true for all of us also. The Lord is so kind to his devotees, so kind that he wants to get all of us back home, back to Godhead as soon as possible. And then after the next part of the purport goes into like one of these questions that is always like ongoing, foregoing debate that is always there in our Hare Krishna movement. So here Prabhupada says, this incident therefore proves that those who have once entered into Vaikuntha can never fall down. The case of Jay and Vijay is not a fall down. It is just an accident. Okay. And then Lord is always anxious to get us back. And then, yeah. And then he continues with the point I said. So here he said, anyone has entered Vaikuntha can never fall down. So Jay and Vijay is not a fall down. So when you read this, is there a chance that anyone can fall from Vaikuntha? And Prabhupada is clearly saying, no one can fall from Vaikuntha. Once I've entered Vaikuntha, no one can fall. And we often make this point that we hear that, oh, because we turned away from Krishna, hence we actually came into this material world. I mean, how do we understand this, right? So this is a very big ongoing debate. And, some people say that actually we never fell from Vaikuntha. We actually come from Mahavishnu. Come from Mahavishnu. That's what people say. But there are both views to it. But some of the devotees say, like, it's not such an important point where we have come from. More important is where we want to go back. Let's focus on that, right? So we have a disease right now, like Radha Swami Maharaj says, like, if you have malaria, right, you won't go and say, like, which is that mosquito that actually gave me malaria? Let me find that mosquito and punish that mosquito. Then only. Oh, come on. You have malaria? Find the cure. Take the medicine, cure yourself, and find perfection. When you get perfection, that's it. You won't care about why you fell down. Similarly, that's the mood that our devotees take. Okay, so that completes what the Lord has spoken here. So, okay, let's see what comments or questions you may have.
Prabhuji, I had a question regarding 3:16:12. So here, so I was under, like I've heard or under the impression that it was Vishnu himself who kind of lessened or gave the benediction to Jay and Vijay to come back in 3 lifetimes. But here it seems like the 4 Kumaras are being asked to give a benediction that they will come back to his abode, and that the curse will expire earlier than. I guess what is the right thing? Is it that the 4 Kumaras are away or giving them the benediction that you'll come back faster?
So the point is, see, the 4 Kumaras, that whole thing that they cursed, that actually this is in Vaikuntha. It cannot happen without the sanction of the Lord. So the whole thing here is the Lord's plan. And that's basically our next section that we are going to talk about. How the Lord actually wanted to desire. He had this desire, and it was also the desire of Jay and Vijay, that they wanted to. And let me come back to this, Mate, because in the next part, I will explain why this whole thing is happening, right? When we come to the next few verses.
Okay.
And then it will be clear. Right? It will be clear. Okay, I'll come back to your question.
Hare Krishna.
Any other comments, any points you'd like to add?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, so Jay and Vijay are, in these verses, is explaining that they are so dear to him, to the Lord. Is there any pastime that, a kind of, the rasa that they had exchanged and how they became so dear to the Lord?
I mean, one
Or is it known that, all the Vaikuntha Vasis are like dear to him?
Yeah, all the Vaikuntha Vasis are very dear to the Lord for sure. One way we can see they are the eternal servants of the Lord. When we say eternal, that means they're always there in that mood of seva to the Lord. Right? Now, what are the other pastimes of Jay and Vijay? Well, one more pastime about like how Lakshmi ji will come later on in this chapter. We will not come to that. But otherwise, like, anyone who is in Vaikuntha is a dear devotee of the Lord. How can there be any other explanation, right? If you are in Vaikuntha, that means actually you are that devotee of the Lord. You are serving the Lord. So certainly Jay and Vijay are very dear associates of the Lord. But it's not that something that they became associates. Eternally they are serving the Lord in that way. Okay. Anything else?
I really like the verse 365, that we are representing the highest philosophy. So we should always have the best of our behavior. We are representing our Guru. As Prabhupada said, my devotees should always be gentlemen.
Nice, very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I really like the point. Devotee is always anxious to serve the Lord. So the Lord is also ever anxious to render service to the devotee.
Mhm.
That's a sweet reciprocation.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you.
I also find it very touching how Krishna is saying that all the things that I have, like how my glories can purify the world and how the dust of my feet can wipe out all sins. And all of this is due because of devotees. So Krishna's setting the example of not taking credit. You know how when devotees are praised, they always give the credit to their spiritual master. So Krishna's showing the example of humility and he's giving all credit to his devotees.
Very nice. Yeah. Actually, this entire section, like how do we see it? So I mentioned that one way it appears that the Lord is giving all the credit to the four Kumaras. And then next section we'll see like the four Kumaras will ask, how is it that you are getting credit because of it? We came from you. It's not possible. And you're saying that Lakshmi ji is actually not leaving your service because we are serving and because you are serving us. I mean, how does that make sense? And even the four Kumaras are totally bewildered. But we see this section as all this is a glorification of a Vaishnava. So when we talk of a glory of a Vaishnava, we can meditate on these sections and say, yes, the Lord glory can purify everyone, even a lowest of all class, even a dog eater. Why? Because when a devotee speaks Hari Katha, those words are actually imbued with the devotion of that devotee, and that devotion can actually wash away all sinful reaction. So glory of a Vaishnava. First. Second, the glory of a Vaishnava. The Lord is saying, because of my service to the Vaishnava, the dust of my feet immediately washes all sins. Right? We know how the Lord himself, that famous image is there. The Lord himself is sucking on his own toe. Right? And why is that? Because he's saying, my devotees, they always aspire for the dust of my lotus feet. I want to see what nectar that they derive, that I want to taste that nectar. Right? So the Lord is anxious to serve his own devotees, right? And then he's making the point. Then third point, glory of a Vaishnava. Yes, we are offering food to Krishna, right? We may do yagyas, we may offer grains to Krishna, but how is the Lord really pleased? When we serve his devotees. When we feed his pure devotees, then the Lord is extremely pleased, right? More than just directly offering the Lord. When we offer it to the devotees, then the devotees are very pleased. Then fourth point. Fourth point is the Lord takes the dust of his devotees on his head. On his head. Imagine. So why should any one of us hesitate to take the dust of the feet of Vaishnavas on our head? We should be anxious to always take the dust of Vaishnavas and put it on our head. The Lord himself is saying, I do that. So why should anyone not do this, right? And then the glory of a Vaishnava, the last point here. Fifth point would be like, even if someone speaks harsh words to a Vaishnava, a true Vaishnava would still, with his lotus feet, smile and will actually still glorify that person in spite of the harsh words. That is the glory of a Vaishnava. So for us, how do we see this section? We see this entire section as glorification of Vaishnavas. The Lord is actually giving credit to the Brahmanas in this section. Okay, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll continue and we'll see what the Kumaras will reply. So text 16 to 25, the Kumaras will reply. And one to the verse that we read, they will reply that, oh, how you're saying this? How is this possible? You're saying this? How is this possible? And so on. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
So I was just thinking how the Lord is proving himself to be a perfect Vaishnava, in a way, because I was thinking in the pastime of like when Radharani's lotus feet dusts Krishna once, he puts on his own head. First thing, how his, I mean, she is Krishna in a way. Like, there's no difference between Radha and Krishna. So he's proving that putting the dust from their lotus feet is worshipable for me. And then how that connection is that then Radharani's lotus feet is on Krishna's head, and Krishna's lotus feet dust is Ganga water, which is on Lord Shiva's head. You know, so like then and then Lord Shiva has written the Kripa Kataksham. Like I was trying to connect, you know, that's thing. And then how the Brahmanas feeding, you know, Krishna's feeding. I mean, when we see the cowherd boys are sitting and eating, you know, how Krishna feeds Madhumangal, his own, you know, things which are soaked in ghee, and he is a perfect Brahman.
Yeah.
So by feeding him, he's relishing that food much more than
like
how Vrindavan Pastor imbibed these teachings from.
Yeah. Like the whole point that how Jayadeva Goswami, when he actually read that section of how it says that Krishna was putting his head on the feet of Radharani. He was saying like, is that really true? You know, that Krishna is putting, and it is true in the sense that because Krishna is so conquered by his devotion, with the devotion of his devotees, particularly the gopis, he said like what level of devotion they have is actually even incomparable to me. How can anyone have so much devotion to me? And that's why he actually comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to see what is that devotion, right? So hence Krishna himself takes the dust of his lotus feet because he is actually so overwhelmed or so like he cannot even comprehend what level of devotion they have for me, what level of service they actually render unto me. You know, so very sweet. Okay, so let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll continue. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Rama, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Prabhu, I was there in this video that you played this
Oh,
time.
you're there?
I was there in this. I mean, and not in this video, you might not see, but on this event, I was Mother Prabhu's Kirtan and everything, November 1st.
Yes. Okay, so let's continue, everyone. Are you back? So we'll continue with text number 13. Okay, so up to text number 12, we have heard the Lord speaking. Now we'll hear what the Kumaras say. So text 13.
Brahmovacha ata tasyoshatiim devim rishikulyam saraswatim nasvadya manyudashtanam tesham atmapyatripyata.
Hare Krishna. Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. Hare Krishna.
So here, so Brahma is now speaking and he's saying like, even though what is the quality of the Lord? Ushatim Devim Rishikulyam Saraswatim. Right. So what the Lord has spoken in this previous verses, it is Ushatim. It's very pleasant. Devim, it had like so many wonderful logical ornaments. Rishikulyam, the words are actually worshipable. Right. So beautiful speech. But because the four Kumaras were bitten with the serpent of anger, right? We read this. Who was that? Oh, yeah. The four Kumaras were subjected to what, Anuja?
Kamanuja.
Kamanuja, right? The brother of Kam. And who is the brother of Kam? Anger. Because they were bitten by the serpent of anger, they actually, their minds were not satisfied in spite of hearing such sweet, lovely words of the Lord Himself. Okay, so their minds were not satisfied because their minds were bitten by the serpent of anger. Right. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes the point that the non-removal of anger shows difficulty in removing offense to devotee. And then further he actually elaborates and said, if the four Kumaras had not committed an offense, they would have developed pure dasya prema. But because there was that offense, they only developed shanta bhav. And further he elaborates that when an offense is done against a dear devotee of the Lord, even real bhav will be destroyed if the offense is great. If the offense is medium, then the bhav is turned to bhava bhas, and the offense is actually slight, then the bhav will become an inferior kind of bhav. That means what? Here the offense was actually slight, and hence their bhav, which was actually could have been dasya, was actually degraded to shanta. Shanta. Right? So we know the five rasas, right? Shanta, dasya, vatsalya, madhurya, and Shanta, Dasya, Vatsalya, Sakhya, Sakhya,
Sakya.
Madhurya, right? So out of five, so here it's saying that instead of they going to the second level of Dasya, they were only a Shanta because of that offense. Okay, text 14.
Satim vyadayo shinvanto lagvim gurvarta garvaram vega yagadha gambhiram navedustat chikirshitam.
Okay, Satim is excellent, right? So though the speech of the Lord was excellent, and Vyadaya, the four Kumaras were attentively hearing the speech, Shrinvataha, they were attentively hearing that excellent speech. Lagvim, which was properly composed. It was Guru, which means heavy, right? It was with deep meaning. And in spite of that wonderful speech, which was actually excellent speech, which was it was deep with so much meaning, Garvava, it was actually difficult for them to understand. The four Kumaras, though they heard this speech with great attention, it was difficult for them to understand. And then they were actually thinking, then what is finally the Lord's intention to us, for us, right? See, imagine up to this point, the four Kumaras were thinking that, oh, maybe we made a mistake. We cursed his dear devotees. And the Lord came and they were thinking like, oh, actually, no, maybe the Lord is still happy with us. Then the Lord spoke. Then they spoke. They composed his prayer. The Lord seemed happy. And then he glorified them. But still, he did not like did the Lord say anything that, oh, you cursed them, hence you should go down, or you did this, hence you should do this. So they were still thinking that, does the Lord, is he actually praising us? Or he is condemning us? Or is he praising the Jay and Vijay? Or is the Lord going to punish us? Or is he going to punish them? Or is he going to, will he limit it or will he destroy it? Right? Will he blame us for the offense? Or will he treat the two servants with great mercy? They could not understand these imports. They were thinking like, what does the Lord really intend for us? Right? So the sages could not comprehend the purport, nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. And then in this purport, to this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he actually gives a very elaborate commentary where he actually says that how each one of the verses that the Lord spoke was actually the glorification of Jai and Vijay. And I'll give you a few, I won't go through each one of them, but he actually, like before, what did the Lord say? That these are my associates. These are my associates. Mayam, he used the word Mayam before. So one way he's saying, oh fools, Kumaras, you have cursed my dear associates. How can you do such a thing? Right? Then second, he actually made the point, they have ignored my intention. And now actually the Lord is making the point that they are my eternal servants. Up to this point, they never ignored my intention. Right? They are so dear to me that they have never ignored my intention up to this point. So how can you make the point that they have ignored now? Eternally, they have never ignored. So in that way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the Lord was actually angry with the Kumaras for cursing his dear devotees, right? And then he says, permission was permitted by me. Certainly in Vaikuntha, nothing can happen without the will of the Lord. So it was actually, if I had not given my permission, the permission would not have taken place. Okay. Then further he says, I have committed the offense. Again, that shows how the Lord is actually so affectionate to Jai and Vijay. I should cut off my own arm, further making the point how the Lord is so attached to Jai and Vijay. So each verse that we read is actually a glorification of Jai and Vijay. And the Lord was not happy that the four Kumaras had actually cursed Jai and Vijay. Okay. Text 15.
Yeah, read the translation.
The translation. Who is read?
Translation. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. Hare Krishna.
So they were actually waiting for a long time to understand what does the Lord really want us to do. Okay, 15.
Te yoga maya yarabdha paramishta mahodayam prochu pranjalayo vipra prarishta kshubhita tvachaha.
Hare Krishna. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glorious of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Hare Krishna.
So basically he says Yoga Mayaya Arabdha. That they were actually thinking that does the Lord actually, is he pleased with us or is he displeased with us? But thinking that the Lord has revealed his glories, right? Paramaistya Maha Udyam. The Lord revealed his glories through his internal energy to us. They were thinking that yes, the Lord is pleased with us. Hence Vipraha Praharishtaha. They were very delighted. And Shubitaha Trachaha, with hair standing on end. Prochaha Prajanlyaha. What's that one? Pranjalayaha. With folded hands, they actually spoke as follows. Right? So they concluded that yes, the Lord is happy with us because he's revealed his glories through his internal energy. So hence they spoke as follows. 16. Rishaya Uchuhu.
Rishaya Uchuhu Navayam Bhagavan Vidmas Tava Deva Chikirshitam Krito me Nugrahascheti Yad Adyaksha Prabhashase. The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you.
So here, so the point is they concluded, yes, the Lord was pleased with us, but they wanted to hear directly from the Lord, what is his intention finally? See, if there is like argument between two people, right? And then a third person who comes to who is the head of both or the spiritual master of both, he comes to the scene and then he glorifies one way both sides. Then both of them are thinking like, okay, there was this argument between us. The guru came, he glorified both of us. Now what? I mean, what does he want us to do? Like, we have to act upon this. We have cursed and there's been this whole thing. So what we have to do? So they wanted to clarify that. So they asked further, right? So here he said, Rishya Uchu, the Rishi said, the four Kumara said, Na vayam bhagwan chikir sitam. We are unable to understand what you really intend for us, right? Adhyaksha, you are actually a supreme ruler of all, right? And you are actually speaking in such a way, Krita me anugraha, as if we have done a favor for you. As if we did something nice for you, you are glorifying us. We don't understand what do you finally intend for us, right? So here actually Prabhupada explains that the Supreme Personality of Godhead speaking as if that he were wrong. It was difficult. How can the Lord be wrong? He is actually here, this verse uses the word Bhagavan, right? Bhagavan, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then Adhyakshaha, you are the supreme ruler for all. How can the Lord say, I have made a mistake and I am begging for forgiveness? That we cannot understand. So you please explain. Okay, 17.
Brahmanasya param daivam brahmana kilate prabho vipranam deva devanam bhagavan atma daivatam.
O Lord, you are the supreme director of all the Brahmanical culture. You're considering the Brahmanas to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deity, not only for the gods, but for the Brahmanas also. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here it's saying, so further they are explaining why is it difficult to understand the Lord's words? And he's saying, Prabhu, O Lord, Brahman Yasya. Actually, you are the supreme director of all Brahmanical culture, right? Param Daivam Brahmana Kila. So we saw this word before also. Param Daivam Brahmana. Krishna used this word to actually say how the Brahmanas are the highest and the most dear personalities, right? So, but here he's saying, you consider that Param Daivam Brahmana Kila just to teach others. Because in the society, if people do not respect Brahmanas, then how will anyone even learn spiritual Vedic culture, right? And Krishna wants everyone to learn the Vedic culture, and hence he is so dear to the Brahmanas just to set an example that everyone will respect Brahmanas, right? But actually, you are Viprana, Deva Devanam. You are the supreme worshipable deity to be worshipped by all the demigods and all the Brahmanas, right? So what is the meaning? What's the meaning when you said that without service to the Brahmanas, my food thus has no power? What does that mean? Like, okay, we understand that you have to you are actually respecting Brahmanas so that to set the example that everyone, because yad yad achari sheshas tat tat evatarajana, whatever the Lord does, common men will follow. So you are respecting Brahmanas so that we all, people in general, will actually understand the glories of Brahmana. But actually, you are Vipranam, Deva Devanam. You are the worshipper Lord for all the Brahmanas, for all the demigods. Then what does it mean that you're saying without service to the Brahmanas, then my dust has no power, like does not make any sense to us. So you please explain that to us. Okay. Text 18.
Sanatano dharmo rakshyate tanubhistava dharmasya paramo guyo nirvikaro bhavan mataha. Mohananda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. You are the source of the eternal occupation of all living entities, and by your multi-manifestations of personality of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in your opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable and eternally. Hare Krishna.
So here it says, Tattvataha Sanatana Dharma, right? So from you, Sanatan Dharma. We have heard this word before, right? Sanatan Dharma. What is the eternal Sanatan Dharma for everyone, all living entities?
Sir.
What's it?
Service to the Lord.
Okay. Which is a shloka? What is the eternal highest dharma for all living entities?
Jivera Sharubha Krishna Nityadas.
Okay, Bhagavatam shloka.
Vekta sadharma.
Savaikamsa paro dharmo so bhakti dakshaje.
So what is Savai Pumsam Paro Dharma? The Paro Dharma for everyone is what? Savai paro savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshaje. Right? Devotion to
Satisfy, Lord.
devotion, service, bhakti, right? Devotion, service to Krishna is the highest eternal occupation. So, tattvataha sanatana dharma, from you, that eternal occupation has come. Rakshaiti tanubhi tava, and from your multi manifestations, or from your tanu, from your body, different forms that come, they actually protect the sanatan dharma. Is this true? The different incarnations of the Lord come and they protect the Sanatan Dharma. This is true, right? Like when Lord Narsimadev comes, then he establishes glorifies the devotion of Prahlad and establishes that of all the people, the one who is most dear to him is his devotee Prahlad. So he establishes the principles of devotion. Right? Dharmasya paramo guya. And this bhakti yoga, this devotional service, you are the supreme objective of all that dharma. The bhakti to Krishna is the supreme objective. Nirvikaro bhavan mata. In our opinion, you are that unchangeable, inexhaustible objective of this parodharma. That bhakti. Now, what does this really mean? So even the four Kumaras, they are making this point that who are the devotees in this scene? Four Kumaras, Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay, right? I mean, now they have become devotees, but they are making the point that it is actually the devotees who actually establish these principles of bhakti, and Rakshite Tanubhi Tava. Your multi-manifestations in the form of devotees, they protect dharma, not brahmanas. Brahmanas, they may establish varnashram dharma, but is that parodharma? No. I mean, your varnashram dharma will keep changing. This time Brahmana, next time Kshatriya, next time Shudra. It will keep changing. But that's not parodharma. So they are making the point that it is your devotees who protect the dharma, not us Brahmana. And you're giving all credit to us when your eternal devotees, Jai and Vijay, are standing here. We don't understand. We don't understand that. It is Jai and Vijay who are your eternal associates, who are establishing this Sanatana Dharma, and who are actually worshipping you, who is Dharmasya Paramo Guya. You are the objective of all Dharma, right? So we don't understand why you are glorifying us when it is all credit goes to Jai and Vijay. Okay, and Prabhupada says, he quotes on this Dharmasya Paramo Guya. What is the most confidential part of all religious principles? Where does Bhagavad Gita say? What is the most confidential of all knowledge? We have been discussing in Bhakti Vish classes. What is the most confidential of all knowledge? Bhagavad Gita? Everyone should know this.
Manmana bhavana.
Okay, and the next sloka?
Sarvadharman Parishitya.
Sarva dharma paritajya. Give up all your other dharmas, right? Sarva dharma paritya mam ekam sharanam. Our paro dharma is that taking shelter of Krishna, right? So Prabhupada quotes that verse, Sarva dharma paritya mam ekam sharanam. Okay, text 19.
Taranti yanjasa mrityum nivrita yad anugrahat yogina sabhavan kim svit anugriyetat yat parai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nescience by ceasing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others. Hare Krishna.
So then the Lord before actually say that you please show me your favor. How can like someone favor the Lord, you know? And here they are making the point, Yogi Naha, the transcendentalists, Taranti Agyasa, they can cross over Mrityum, the cycle of birth and death, by Nivritaha, by giving up all material desire, only by your Anugraha. Right, and Prabhupada actually explains. He says, like here, the transcendentalists, the yogis that are talked about is actually devotees, because finally only the devotees, they are actually go beyond the cycle of birth and death, and they are established in their real position. Right. Otherwise, even dhyan yogis, I mean, they are not getting that perfection of yoga, right? Perfection of liberation, right? So here is talking of devotees, and all those yet anugraha, only by the mercy of the Lord, right? Kim swit anugraha yet parahe. So how is it possible that someone will show anugraha to the Lord? Right? And the Lord says, "Oh Brahmanas, you please show me anugraha. Let my devotees come back very soon." I mean, like, it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. So here, so they are saying like, so Prabhupada makes a point in the purport. Unless one receives the anugraha of the Lord, the mercy of the Lord, one cannot actually cross over this ocean of omniscience and cycle of birth and death. What is the shloka from Bhagavad Gita? I was just thinking of shloka. Without the anugraha of the Lord, one cannot actually. And then there are a few shlokas coming to my mind, but I was thinking of Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Duratya, and then Athapi Te De. But Athapi Te, I quoted this last time, right? Who remembers this? Athapi Te Deva, I'm forgetting one word in between. Prasada Leshanugrahita Evahi Janati Tatvam Bhagwan Mahimyam. That basically we cannot know the Mahima of the Lord unless we receive a lesha, a small drop of mercy, anugraha of the Lord. Okay? Anugraha of the Lord. Okay? So everyone needs the favor of the Lord, but the Lord does not need the favor of anyone. Right? Okay, text 20.
Yambai viputir upayat yanuvela manyair artarti bhisvashirasa dritapadarenu dhanyarpitangri tulasi navadamadhamno lokam madhuvratapatir iva kamayana.
Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh breath of tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee. Hare Krishna.
So we see in these verses again and again, glory of who? Devotees of the Lord, right? Because previous verse also that yogi, Prabhupada explains in the purport that yogi is referring to devotee of the Lord, right? And then the verse about the you always protect eternal dharma. What is that? Again, bhakti, devotee of the Lord. So from starting, so if you see those first few verses, the verses that Krishna spoke, that's also glorification of devotee. And the verse the Kumaras are actually speaking is also glorification of the devotees. Right? But the point that Krishna has said that, oh, all that is because of Brahmanas, that is the point that the Brahmanas cannot understand. So in text 20, previously how the Lord said, you said that Lakshmi does not give up your service, even though you're not attached to you, because you serve Brahmanas. That is impossible. That is impossible. And here they are explaining why Vibhuti Upayati. Certainly Lakshmi, goddess of fortune, she waits upon you. Anuvelam Anai Artha Artibhi Swa Sirasha. And others, everyone else, including Brahma, they actually desire to get the mercy of Lakshmi by accepting the dust from her lotus feet on their head. Right? But she herself, Lakshmi herself, what is her aspiration? Dhanya Arpita Angri Tulasi Navadhama. Right? So, so when devotees, when they offer the fresh tulsi leaves to the lotus feet of the Lord is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees who hovers on the fresh garland of tulsi leaves offered at your lotus feet. It's a very Rasika verse that, that's making the point that Lakshmi ji, her aspiration is what? Because she has such devotion to the Lord, she is aspiring for that place in the abode of the king of bees, right? Because the bees can always fly and take shelter of the garland of the tulsi leaves that the devotees have offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. And that is Lakshmi's aspiration. And everyone else, including Brahmaji, is actually taking the dust of Lakshmi and putting on their head. So how can you say that Lakshmi is not leaving you because of service to us? That does not make any sense. So Prabhupada in the purport makes the point that Tulsi attained all superior qualities due to being placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. So one way here, Lakshmiji is envious of that position of Tulsi Devi, that she can always stay at the lotus feet. But I have to attend to so many people ask for, oh Lakshmiji, Dhanam Dehi, Rupam Dehi, give us this, give us that. And then Lakshmiji has to leave the lotus feet. But Tulsi is always there. So Lakshmiji one way is envious of that position of Tulsi. Okay, 21.
Yastam vivikta charitairanuvartamanam natyadriyat parama bhagavata prasanga Satvam dvijanu patad punya raja punitaha Shri Vatsa Lakshma kim agha bhaga bhajanasvam.
O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddess of fortune, who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. How can you be purified, therefore, by the dust of the path traversed by the Brahmanas? And how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the marks of Srivatsa on your chest?
So here they are glorifying that, oh Lord, that for you, tam vivikta charitaha anuvartamana, that you are not very attached to Lakshmiji. And anuvartamana, she is constantly engaged in transcendental service to you. So again, the point here is where Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur makes a point. It's not that Lord is attached to Lakshmi because Lakshmi is his wife. He's attached to Lakshmi. Why? Because Lakshmi is engaged in devotion service to the Lord, right? That's Parama Bhagavata Prasanga. Lord is attracted to his greatest devotees. Therefore, how can you say that Lakshmi does not give up your company simply because of mercy of Brahmana? It does not make any sense to us, right? And then further he said, Tvam Dvija Anupata Punya Rajaha Punita. How can you be purified by the dust of path traversed by Brahmanas? How is that possible? When you yourself are actually marked with Srivatsa and you are endowed with 6 opulences. When the Lord himself has the Srivatsa mark on his chest, he is actually endowed with 6 opulences. How can you say that you are purified by the dust of Brahmanas? This we cannot understand. So actually every shloka that the Lord spoke, they actually have a counter shloka to that, to actually say that what you have said is not true for Brahmana, but it is true for Vaishnava. So Prabhupada also explained the point in the purport, and he says, the Lord is not attached to Lakshmi Ji. Why? Because Lord also has the opulence of renunciation. There are 6 opulences of the Lord. One of the opulences is what? Renunciation. So he renounced, right? And if he wants, he can create hundreds and thousands of Lakshmis. So he's not just attached to that one Lakshmi, right? But Lakshmi is sometimes envious of Tulsi leaves, who's placed at the lotus feet. Lakshmi is on the chest of the Lord, but she is aspiring for the position of Tulsi Devi. Okay, next, 22.
Dharmasya te bhagavatastriyugatribhi svai padbhishcharacharamidam dvijadevatartham nunamritam tad abhighati rajastamascha satvena novaradayata nuvanirasya.
O Lord, you are the personification. You are the personification of all religion. Therefore, am I reading the right one? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Mate.
O Lord, the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in 3 millenniums and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born.
So it says Dharmasya. So you are the personification of religion. And Bhagavata Tri-Yuga. Why is the Lord called Tri-Yuga? Anyone wants to say? Why is the Lord called Tri-Yuga?
Because he comes only in 3 yugas, he does not come in Kali Yuga, although we know he comes in Kali Yuga.
Yeah, he comes in Kali Yuga in a Channa avatar, in a hidden incarnation, right? Hence the Lord is known as Tri-Yuga. In Kali Yuga also he comes, but he comes in a hidden form. Hence he's known as Tri-Yuga. But there are other meanings of this Tri-Yuga, right? So Prabhupada actually explains. One is the Lord is appearing in 3 yugas. The other, the Tri-Yuga, could also refer that the Lord manifests 3 qualities of austerity, cleanliness, and mercy. When the Lord appears, he manifests these 3 qualities: and austerity, cleanliness, mercy. And then another explanation of Tri-Yuga is the Lord has 6 opulences. So Tri-Yuga referring to 3 couples of those opulences. That means 6 opulences. Right? Sad Aishwarya Purna. So 3 couples. So 6 opulences in that. Okay. So that's Tri-Yuga. And then it says, Swai Padbahi Chara Acharam Idam. So when the Lord appears, then what does he do? He actually protects the universe of moving and non-moving beings. Dvija Devata Artha. In order to benefit both the Brahmanas and the demigods. Abhigati, destroying Raja and Tamaha by your grace, which is of, with the form which is of pure goodness. Like bestowing your blessings on. Yeah. So basically the point here is the Lord is actually, the Kumaras are actually saying that you are saying that all that credit is because of Brahmanas, but it is you who actually appear again and again on this universe, which is made of moving and non-moving living entities, to actually establish these principles of austerity, cleanliness, and mercy to benefit the Brahmanas. So you are appearing to give benefit to the Brahmanas. So how can you say the Brahmanas are actually giving benefit to you, right? And you appear in a form that actually destroys Rajaha and Tamaha, and by which you establish Sattva Good. And the Brahmanas are what? Situated in Sattva Good. And we will stop here. Maybe we'll continue this with this verse even next time. Okay. So there are 3 more verses. Yeah. Go ahead.
How come it's only 3 and not 4? Because like we know there's four pillars of religiosity, right?
Yeah, but because truthfulness is always there, even in Kali Yuga also truthfulness is there. So they don't actually explicitly mention truthfulness because truthfulness is always there. Even in Kali Yuga, out of the 4, the truthfulness always stays. Right? So the Lord is coming again and again to establish those 3 which actually get vanquished. So in like Satya Yuga, 4 principles are there. Then in Treta Yuga, then 3 principles are there. Right? So the Lord will come and establish what is missing. In Dwapar Yuga, 2 principles are there. Lord will come and establish those 2. In Kali Yuga, only 1 principle is there. Lord comes and establishes these 3. So truthfulness is always there. So Lord does not actually come to establish truthfulness. He comes to establish these 3. And that's why it's called Tribihi. So in this word, there is the word Tri-Yuga and also Tribihi. So the Tribihi could actually refer to these 3 aspects. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have a question to verse 15. So there is a question which is asking what is the English meaning of the word Parameshthya? The word translation says Parameshthya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in the purport, Prabhupada is writing Parameshthya, the opulence of Brahma.
And
The
Prabhupada,
highest
further, what does he say in the purport? That the opulence, normally Parameshtya, in this material world would actually refer to the opulence of Brahma. But he is making the point that Parameshtya is not, the opulence of the spiritual world cannot be compared to the opulence of this material world. So the Parameshtya there is actually referring to the opulence of the Supreme Personality of God. See, he says the highest opulence in the material world is called Parameshtya, opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yoga Maya, whereas the opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. Right? So the verse is talking of which Parameshtya? That in the spiritual world. Right? But in general, people consider Parameshtya what? Opulence of Brahmaji. But there is no comparison. One is in Yoga Maya potency, one is Mahamaya potency.
Thank
Is
you.
it okay?
Yeah. Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much.
Yeah, Prabhu. One question, Prabhu. So, as the last verse says that Prabhu, God comes in the other three yuga, but in hidden form in Kali Yuga. But Kali Yuga is the only yuga when God is needed the most, right? To put the correct dharma in the humanity or humans, basically.
Yeah. So actually the Lord does come in Kali Yuga, but he comes in a hidden avatar, like a Channa avatar. And why is that? See, the Lord descends to establish Dharma, but he descends in a place and circumstance where people would actually recognize that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If people don't recognize, like when Krishna appeared, right? And there's a Pandavas who would recognize, oh, this is Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we will be assistants to Krishna to establish Dharma. Now, let's say now in Kali Yuga, Krishna appears, right? And he says, I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What will people say? Ah, who cares for him? Will he help me pay my mortgage bill? Then okay, maybe I'll accept some opulence. Otherwise, I will not. Right? So Krishna appears and establishes his supremacy in a circumstance where people will actually appreciate him. And then through those people, he will actually establish dharma. In the previous yugas, Krishna can do that. But in Kali Yuga, people are so degraded that Krishna does not directly come and establish his supremacy because there are no people to actually appreciate his glories in that way. So he comes in a hidden form to those devotees who are there to appreciate him. Right? Hence he came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And through those devotees who appreciate him, he actually spread Krishna consciousness everywhere.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Can you understand the point about the Lord will appear in a circumstance where at least there are some people to appreciate and through them he can establish. But if the Lord appears and no one is like, if Krishna comes and says like, I'm the Supreme Personality of God, people are like, I don't care. I want to watch this movie right now. Don't disturb me. I mean, why would Krishna even appear in that circumstance? So he does it in a hidden form just so that he can still establish Dharma. Hence, he is known as Tri Yuga.
Oh.
True, but also in Kali Yuga, he's available in Naam, in holy name. And actually in Kali Yuga, he's most available.
Yes.
Guru, Sadhu's holy
Yeah.
name.
But isn't that also Channa in one way? Like, yes,
Yes.
he appeared in his name, but how many people actually know the name is actually Krishna?
Realize.
So again, that Channa, it is still Channa avatar. Right? Only those fortunate people will actually know about Krishna's appearance in Kali Yuga. Right? And those who know that when Krishna appears in Kali Yuga in that Channa avatar, then it's a very, very special. Because when he is coming in hidden form, he can reveal some more intimate secrets that he would not do openly as when he would come as Krishna with the Pandavas. So, okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, what about the Kalki avatar? What kind of, is it also Channa avatar?
No, Kalki avatar is actually at the end of Kali Yuga, you know. And when Kalki comes, he does not do any preaching. He'll just come and he'll kill everyone. It's like, oh, sinful activities, kill, 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 kill. Okay, all the sinful people are washed away. Time for Satyuga. Satyuga begin. Right. So Kalki is actually is said to be in Kali Yuga, but he's towards the end of Kali Yuga, and he comes just to create the circumstance so Satyuga can start. So one way he is not establishing dharma in Kali Yuga. He's actually cleaning of all the nonsense in Kali Yuga so Satyuga can actually begin. Does it help, Vijay Radhika?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, should we stop?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I need more explanation, I guess. In text 21, they are saying that you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddess of fortune who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. But he is attached to any devotee who are constantly engaged, right?
Yeah. So the point is, you're not attached to Lakshmi simply because Lakshmi is your wife. Rather, you are actually attracted to service. See, the point is being made that it's not that Krishna, I am attached, Vishnu is actually attached to Lakshmi because, oh, she's my wife, hence I'm attached to her. No. She is my consort, hence I'm. What is Lord really attached to? Devotional service.
Because he is a devotee.
Because she is
Rendering
engaging in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord. So the Lord is attached to Lakshmi or her devotion?
Devotion.
Devotion. That's the point, right? And hence the next part of the verse is you are attached to the activities of your pure devotees.
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay.
I also had one question. Like it's said in text 13 that the Kumaras were still bitten by anger, like they were not satiated by hearing the Lord's speech. But then when they're speaking, it doesn't sound like they're angry. It sounds like they're glorifying devotees, and doesn't sound like they're angry, right?
So, see, the point is that when the Lord was actually speaking this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in this verse itself, in that he gives a very elaborate purport to make the point that how the Lord actually was not pleased with Kumaras. Say, how can you curse my dear associates? And though the Lord, when he was speaking all these verses, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually making the point that he is actually glorifying Jai and Vijay, in every one of the shloka. But the Kumaras cannot understand. Because they actually cursed, they did one way of Vaishnava Aparadh, they cannot understand. And because they had that bitten by the serpent of anger, they could not understand the true glories of Jai and Vijay. Otherwise, if they really had understood the glories of Jai and Vijay, then, they wouldn't have maybe said all these. I mean, in the next few verses, they are actually one way glorifying again devotees. That's how we see it. But from the Kumara side, they are actually more questioning that, oh, you are saying this? But how is it? How is it that you are getting glory from the service of Brahmanas? We don't understand. We don't understand. We don't understand. So if they had really been cured of that offense or cured of that anger, they would have understand the glory of the devotee that the Lord was presenting through the words, which were kind of indirect, but which were actually bringing up the glory of. See, finally, the entire Bhagavatam, it has to come to this point. Glorification of devotee, glorification of devotion. That's the essence of the whole Bhagavatam. So we have to see that where is that point missing? Why is the Kumara not able to get it? Because of that anger and because of the offense. So hence in the next few verses, what we are reading now, it is more of a question mark. We don't understand, we don't understand. Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I thought someone else had started speaking. No, okay. So thank you so much. So we'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Namo Namaha.
So meditate on these verses as the glory of Vaishnavas, and that's the whole essence of Bhagavatam. So thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandvat Pranam.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
for joining.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, I asked this question on the chat, Prabhu. Is this like, artists, they came in the door of the realm of Vaikuntha, or it is like individual Vaikuntha planets, Prabhu? Because, there is this Goloka chart that we have, right? So that shows the yantra of
Yeah.
Vaikuntha planet.
See, like when we
But
actually,
then
when you say they crossed the 6 gates, right? So your question is that to a particular Vaikuntha planet or the entire Vaikuntha together?
realm, yeah. Prabhu, I can share you that photo. I have that, we can now share the high resolution photos also. You can see in that Goloka chart, they show all the Vaikuntha planets together, coupled up, like in a yantra shape. And in those gates, there is Jai Vijay and Dama Sudama, and there are
I think yes.
4. So, and then the question was also last chapter, that how many gates are there? There are 7 gates. To which side? I was like trying to figure out that when you said, no, Prabhu, that when Lakshmi Devi and Krishna, Narayanji is together, they stop. The Jai Vijay are there to stop people from entering. So is it like they direct the palace, because Vaikuntha would be like an entire globe, and Lord would be probably in the center of it. There would be a palace, just like how Dwarka is. So I'm trying to understand how the Vaikuntha, where, and then also that comes to the question, is that then if Jay and Vijay were inside, then how the our debate like fall? How does that happen? Context comes. So I can talk to you maybe once we see each other on this.
I mean, that point, yeah. I mean, it's nice to understand where this episode actually took place, It may be
But
hard.
to understand, it's very important, because this is the context that keeps on coming to this debate again and again. Jai Vijay, Jai Vijay. So I want to really understand, if the Lord is that these two were inside, inside, just like how we are now inside the earth. We are not on the gate of the earth, right? So I'm I'll send you the picture. Maybe we can see each other and talk.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Haribol.